was it growing up, man? Like, you know,
Well, I grew up in a single
experience.
parent home. You know, my mom's raised me, and you know, it was a you know, single woman, and you know, it was a struggle for her. You know what I'm saying? She had to you know, take care of me and my brother, so it wasn't easy. So really, that balance of having that foundation of, you know, father and mother wasn't there. So she was
Yeah,
the mother, but also the father. So at an early age, we learned, was, you know what I'm saying, we, you know, she instilled in us certain responsibilities because she had to go out there and work, and she had to take care of us. So that left me and my brother to like fend for ourselves, you know.
yeah,
So in a way, you know, so you know, there was positivity about that, but then there was also negativity about that, you
mm,
know, because you know, you still have to be like, and you know, growing up, you have to like to be monitored, you know. Like I said, she was out there working, so there was times where, you know what I'm saying, she wasn't watching us, you know. And growing up in the 70s and in the 80s and into the 90s into my adulthood, it was you know, it was different. Like you're saying, it's different to compare to now, you know what I
yeah,
mean? So,
challenging
very challenging, right?
to
So you
say
know,
the
in the
least.
70s, I was young, you know what I'm saying? I was in, you know, middle school, the grade school, and things of that nature. So, you know, I didn't really see what's going on. I knew a little bit of, you know what I mean, not so far as much as the street, but I was the average kid playing stickball, playing baseball, you know what I'm saying, playing
Right.
football, basketball, things of that nature. You know, going to school in the 70s, early 70s, the breakdancing era, which started, you know what I mean, things of that nature, you know, so.
I always like to ask. I always like to ask. You know, anybody that I'm sit down with and talk to, like I remember back growing up in the Bronx, BX all the way. You know, I remember growing up and there were positive influences and negative. There were more negative than positive, but there was those positive influences. And I like to give an example, um, like a brother I grew up with named Skip. They moved off the block when we were young, and he came back and he was Muslim
Mm-hmm.
to try to get us to get off the streets. You know what I mean? Because we was already in the knee deep, 80,
Right,
85 on the corner
right,
selling weed, and he used to always come and preach to us. It was so bad that when he come, we used to all run and hide from him. But that was that positive influence. That was that self-accusing spirit. That was that God, that God for me, that was trying to get us out of those circumstances at an early age that we never listened to. So
right.
I'm asking you, do you ever have any examples of any positive influences, and what were they back when you was young growing up, man?
Well, I
That was
remember growing up, right? Again, like, you know what I'm saying? We were just, you know, being the average kid, just running around the streets, you know what I'm saying, playing you know, basketball, football, baseball. But yeah, there was things that were going on in the neighborhood. Like, you know, that was the dope era. I remember I was very young. I remember the Nicky Bonds era. Like you had the Monarch on 100 and 58th Street, you know what I'm saying? And I remember hearing about Shameka getting killed in there. That was Nicky Bonds' girl, you know what I'm saying, at the time. But I was very, very young, didn't really understand it, but I was very young. So you had those dynamics of, you know what I'm saying, the drug environment that was in the neighborhood. Um, the positive influence I would say would be there was an individual, right? And he was his name was, we just called him Blue, but he was an assemblyman. Like I didn't know about politics at the time, but I knew he was very important because I remember somebody got murdered in a donut shop around my way between 157th and 158th, and cops was around. You know, everybody's just standing out. And
yeah,
you know, because you know, Blue always used to say hi to everybody. You know what I mean, all to the kids and all that. You know what you doing, yo? Y'all playing baseball? You used to see us out there, whatever the case is. But I didn't really know how important he was until one day I know he said something to the officer and he just walked right in. So right then and there, I knew that he was in, you know, an important man. But as more and more as the relationship between us grew with him, you know, I say my brothers and stuff like that, my other friends, I knew that, you know what I'm saying, like he would try and get us like summer jobs and he would try, you know what I'm saying, things of that nature.
right, right.
So that what I could say that was a positive. Like I said, I didn't really know about politics, but I know he was somebody really important in the neighborhood that was trying to
Absolutely.
do like positive things for as far as like the kids, like myself when I was a kid at the time.
Absolutely. No question. I think that we all have a lot of similarities, man, in life growing up, man. Wherever
Good, yeah,
we
like you said, the good and bad was
the
there.
good and bad is always there, man. Everybody I speak to, I might have had one exception that said they never had no positive influence, but I beg to differ. I think that you just didn't see it at that time.
Right, right,
Some of us can now identify it,
right.
because we definitely don't see it at that time. That from where our state of mind was, and the way we grew up, you know. So the streets, man, would led you, to the streets, man, and how, and just if you could just expound on when you first went to prison, when you first went to jail, like going to prison, how was that like for you?
Oh, the streets, I gotta started getting into the streets like what like as again I'm growing up with my peers and we just started hanging out and it went from like smoking weed and drinking beer and things of that nature and just hanging out. You know what I mean? And sometimes that time is what I'm saying is like okay, you intoxicated or whatever the case is, or you really trying to you really trying to go to school or whatever, you want to get
Of
some
course.
munchies or something like that. And so so a lot of the time was consumed in that, but at the same time older peers, like it was an older peer that what I'm saying, may he rest in peace, we used to call him Sean Jughead. He was a little older than us, but he was around dudes that was getting money in the streets, but he would he would hang out with us. You know what I'm saying? So us seeing him, what I'm saying, getting dipped, getting fresh and things like that. And so, we started getting attracted to that kind of lifestyle. And that was really he was sort of like my introduction into that lifestyle. He was over there at the bar at the time before, what I'm saying, crack came out. He was selling the 50 Coke, the 50 bottles of Coke and $20 bottles of Coke. He worked for somebody, things of that structure. So it was like, what I'm saying, that was the attraction to that lifestyle. And that was for me and a couple of my peers, the introduction into that lifestyle where we started, started hustling and started selling weed. I first started selling weed, what I'm saying, out there on the corners. And then that's when I started hearing about crack. You know what I'm saying? Yo, they selling cracks downtown. They're selling crack. Like, I'm like, yo, what the hell is that? Then I started to find out what it was. It was, what I'm saying, it was cooked up cocaine and things like that. So we started hustling like that on the corners and shit. So we talking about maybe going into my like maybe 17, 16, 17 years old,
Absolutely. Yeah. So
going to the rooftop, what I'm
no
saying,
question.
getting a little bit of nickel, what I'm saying, a little bit of,
Rink,
money, what I mean, going down there, what I'm saying, things of that
SNS
nature,
Club, no
seeing that
question.
lifestyle and stuff.
Yeah, man. Yeah, 371. For those that don't know about 371 and BX, we used to go gamble in that spot. But
That eventually led me to like going out of town. So I went out of town when I was 17 years old. You know what I'm saying? I went upstate. I was
absolutely.
out, you know what I'm saying? I met somebody from around my neighborhood, my one of my boys, Arnold. He had a cousin and he came around and you know what I mean? And he was like, yo, you guys, you guys could get some crack, you know what I'm saying? Yo, you take it up there and y'all could sell it up there for such and such more than what we selling. He's like 70, so I grabbed one of my boys up, you know what I mean? And we went up there and actually we went like, marketing, as you would say, like, you know
Yeah,
what I'm saying? So we had one first went to White Plains, dudes came out, they wasn't having it. Look, we was trying to set up shop, like you see in the
yeah,
movie Belly and stuff like that,
yeah,
and
yeah,
then it
no
didn't
question.
work out, dudes in the habit was, then we went to Ossining and then we landed in Peekskill, and that's when I really started getting my hustle on and, making a whole lot of money that I ain't never seen before, because the crack
Yeah,
era was
absolutely.
like just a different era. So then that led me to my first time getting locked up when I was 17. I caught my first, what I'm saying, drug offense. And then from there, it kind of like led on. So I kind of like, probation at first felony as a YO,
Yeah,
still
yeah.
not, what I'm saying, realizing what, what I'm saying, the negative effects
What
or
we
what,
being set up for.
right, what I was being set up for and what, what I'm saying, this system was like, okay, they were slowly more and more putting the shackle behind on my ankles. And I didn't realize it at the time. I dropped out of high school. You know what I mean? I never went
Yeah,
back to school. I didn't really like the system, the way they was teaching and stuff like that. So again, more and more the street started, getting towards my way. And then I ended
Most
up
of our
catching,
stories. Go
like
ahead.
around 90, 91, I caught my first state bid, and it was a short bid, again, drug beef, because I was a hustler, I was making money and things of that nature. I caught a drug sale, things of that nature, and I ended up getting, my first bid. Did learn my lesson, went through the state, was like, okay, this is state prison and stuff like that. Ended up coming home, chilled out for
Badge
a
of
little
honor.
while, right?
Yeah.
Chilled out for a little while, not really thinking about, what had happened, or the effects of, my choices. And then, I went right back into the game again.
Yeah.
You know what
Yeah.
I mean? In
We
95, yes, in
go
95,
ahead.
I caught another bid, same thing. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Still out there trying to get that money and stuff like that. Boom, this time it was, 2 to 4. You know what I mean? Still not, not realizing, okay, all right, I'll be home in such and such time. I'm seeing dudes going up north, but I didn't see dudes going up north for the long. And ain't nobody in there sit me down and say, matter of fact, that's where I met, on my second one, I met Dao, Sir D, because I
Okay,
remember
okay,
we were all
okay.
in there
Big up to
together.
Sir
Yes,
D.
yes,
No
yes, sir.
question.
Yeah, I remember him, and he had caught his body, but he didn't really like, like nobody said, yo, I'm going up to do 25 years. You know what I'm saying? In the same situation, so I ended up going home, and then again getting back into that game. You know what I'm saying? And I ended up catching this bid here where I ended up doing,